tonight on Off the Bench. You're not going to want to miss this one. It's a huge hockey show. It's devoted to one question: should fighting in hockey stay or go? We got a great guest on tap tonight, Bree Lehman, Matt Cotrillo, tonight on Off the Bench. And welcome to Off the Bench. I'm Alex Kozora. Joining me, my coach, Jason Clake. A little bit different format tonight, but we start. Jason, how's it going? The beard's coming in very nicely.
It's coming in very thick.
It is. It's awesome. That's your playoff beard. The fire's clinched, so congratulations.
Thank you.
To that. Again, this show devoted to one question, and one question only: should fighting stay or go in hockey? Joining me, Miss Hockey herself, Bree Lehman. Bree, ready to do battle?
Ready to do battle.
And the result of a genetic experimentation gone horribly awry, Matt Cotrillo.
Nice to see you too, Alex.
As always. So
Let's go Flyers.
This is just going to be 10 minutes of us yelling at each other. I'm woefully underprepared for this, and I feel like everyone's against me. So we'll see what happens. So first, let's just get our position stated for those that don't know us that well. I'll start things off and just give my quick statement. I am for getting rid of fighting in hockey. I don't believe it's very good for the sport, and we'll get into that a little bit later about the specifics. But Jason, what is your stance on fighting in hockey?
I like it.
Would you keep it?
Yes, I would keep it. I would have it there.
You've deserted me. I thought I had you.
I changed my mind. I was in the air about it, but I like fighting.
That was Scott Martinez is doing. Scott Martinez, Tyler Giacomo will be on in the second block. But Bree, your stance?
Absolutely. As a hockey purist, you can't get rid of fighting in hockey.
And Cotrillo?
Ditto.
Well said.
Bringing back 90s slang.
So we're going to go to our first question here. For those that want to keep it, which is everybody here, don't you, my big point, multiple points, my big point is that it's very dangerous, that someone could get seriously hurt in fighting like this. Do you guys see the danger in fighting? And if so, why do you still want to keep it even knowing the danger?
It swings momentum in the game, you know, it's a big momentum shift, and it's pure emotion out there. It's good to see those guys really get into it and really want it.
So you think the pure emotion outweighs the risk of getting
if someone
seriously
takes
hurt?
out your teammate, you go beat them up.
It's a high-impact sport. You can get seriously injured doing anything in this sport. You could get seriously injured going for a puck in the corner.
True.
And, I mean, that's one of the situations you see with the change in hybrid icing. They are trying to get rid of things like that. But a lot of people who want to get rid of fighting in hockey act like improvements have not been made to the situation of fighting in hockey, where they have. There's been rule changes. This year, new rule change saw you cannot take your helmet off prior to a fight now.
True.
Of course, they get around that. The other player takes off the helmet and things like that. But improvements have been made, and I don't think it's as big of an issue as some people make it out to be.
Matt?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's purely on emotion, and that's the kind of stuff you want to see. It can possibly change the momentum of a game. People literally try and pick fights, obviously to the consent of the other hockey player, because they want to take them on, because they want to show their manly pride, because that's exactly what the sport is, in essence. And try and change the momentum of the game. And sometimes we've seen it work, and sometimes we've seen it happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where the highest of emotion always occurs. So you definitely have to keep it, absolutely. And to add to what Bree said too, someone can get hurt even by someone accidentally getting clipped with a skate. We saw that with Braden Shen this year against the New Jersey Devils. So at any point in this sport, you can get seriously hurt in different types of fashions.
Understood. But to that I would say is that's within the phase of the game. Yes, of course you're never going to eliminate all injuries in hockey, but those are, you know, if something happens and you get hit with a puck or something like that, or, you know, a freak skate injury, that is within the phase of the game itself, in play. Fighting is not. It's a complete stoppage in play, and you duke it out, as you see a little slideshow on the screen right now. So that's where I see the difference is that fighting, it's a sideshow where everyone's stopped. It's not, it's a part of hockey, but it's not, because it's not an actual hockey event in terms of being, you know, conducive to the game. So I don't buy that argument that, you know, it's like any other freak thing, because you can eliminate that and totally eliminate that risk. There's no way to eliminate the risk of a puck, but you can eliminate the risk of fighting by essentially eliminating fighting. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
I think.
Hope maybe did I win? Did I win? Is it over?
No,
Can
I
we
just
end
like
it?
of trying to pick a point of what
My main point
came
is
out of.
my main point is just that it's separate, because that's not within the phase of the game. Fighting's not
I
within
really
the phase of
don't
the game.
think it's separate and not within the phase of the game, though. It's not like two players fight just because they want to fight. They fight because something happened on ice. And as Jerome McGinley now with the Boston Bruins, but lifetime player of the Calgary Flames. He's been known to drop the gloves every now and again, but he's a power forward, and he's been known for that. He is adamant for fighting in hockey, even though some players do see injuries in fights. Whereas on the ice, you know, there's 2 linesmen, 2 referees. They're not going to catch everything that happens. His point is that if you eliminate fighting in hockey, you're going to see a lot more cheap shots and things behind the refs' backs and things like that, that fighting keeps them honest. Where if you have a really dirty check that didn't get called, or you know, you slash someone's hands, they might not necessarily result in dropping of gloves, but it can, and that it's kind of a way that they police themselves.
Why can't you have just a legal hit then, or an attempt at a legal play? Because some of the
They
checks in
do.
hockey are monstrous, so let's just keep it with that.
They do, but sometimes even that then just leads to heated, and it's the emotion. It builds up, it builds and builds and builds, and then it just sometimes builds into a fight.
And you see cheap plays in any sport. I mean, look at football, for example, Alex. You see it.
Understood.
I'll give you an example between like someone like Deshaun Jackson and D'Angelo Hall. You see cheap shots all the time.
I understand, and that's
And
my
even
point.
after
And they
the
don't have
plays.
fighting in hockey, and it's not this. I mean, there are cheap shots, yes, in every sport, but it's not like the NFL is nothing but cheap shots all the time. No other sport has this. No other sport needs it except for hockey, and that's what I don't understand.
I mean, you even see cheap shots in baseball when
I understand,
when
but
guys
it's
slide
not-
into it. So and in
But they don't
baseball-
have fighting. They don't have fighting.
Right, but I think in this situation it's completely different. Baseball is a slower paced game, which yeah, they do get heated, but you do you see fights.
Yeah,
and
there's
they
some
happen.
huge
But that's
brawls.
my
You see
point.
the
There's
bullpens
some-
but
coming and
potentially
everything.
brawls,
Okay, go
and
ahead.
there's
I'll get to
more
that point.
repercussion for
That's
it,
my
of
point.
course. But I just feel like they're completely different situations, and you can't compare all the sports together.
Well, that's my point in saying baseball is such a slow sport, but still there are ways to cheap shot the other person. So even if it doesn't really matter where you have it in any sport, it's still going to happen regardless.
I understand. But to your point about the baseball brawls, yes, there's brawls in baseball, but the repercussions is the big thing. Obviously, you're not. I love the double box. That is fantastic. I saw that. That is amazing. I understand that fighting in baseball happens, but you have severe suspensions because of it. Not a 5-minute major that no one cares about. The issue is not that you can't get rid of fighting entirely like that. I still can't get over it. You can't get rid of it entirely. I'm not asking for that. I'm saying is that the repercussions should be so much more that it really discourages it unless you really want to, feel like you need to fight, and then you serve a 1 to 2 game suspension.
But
That's
see-
my proposal.
But before they even fight, they consent to it. Before
Yeah.
the consent is when
It's
they
not,
drop
I
the
don't
sticks in the
know. It's
gloves.
not about
So they're still
consent. It's not
consenting.
about consent.
Absolutely they are.
It doesn't matter. The consent doesn't matter. It's
If
a
they want to
legal
consent,
thing.
they skate away from each other.
It's not a consent thing. Why? That has nothing to do
If
with
they
anything.
consent,
Well,
they
It
look
doesn't
at
mean
each
it's
other,
okay.
yeah, you
It
wanna go,
doesn't
you wanna
make it
go,
okay.
drop the
If
gloves
two
and let's
people
go.
fight in the street, like if people fight in the street, that doesn't mean it's legal and it's okay to do.
I think you would honestly see more injuries in hockey without fighting because
How?
you'd see more cheap shots like Zach Ronaldo for the Flyers hit a player a couple games ago in the head
They
with
got a
his
4-game
shoulder.
suspension for
4-game suspension.
And fighting is a 5-minute major. What if
Yeah.
what if someone is? Here's what's going to happen. Someone's going to get seriously hurt in fighting. There's
There
going to
have
be a
been-
major, severe injury that ends in a career or ends a life, and I don't want
But
that
the
to
thing
happen.
is-
That's my point.
The thing is like I know that's one point you brought up on the paper. Will it take a severe injury to stop fighting in hockey? But there have been severe injuries from fighting, and that hasn't stopped fighting in hockey. These players know what they're getting into when they sign up for
But
this sport.
that's not an acceptable argument. Because please tell
Why
someone.
is it not an acceptable?
Because
Because
Already
even if they
acceptable
know
for
what they're
them.
getting into, you have to protect the players from themselves sometimes. The reason why that they wear helmets, would some people not want to wear helmets in a sport? Possibly. But I was going back there. But sometimes you have to protect the players. That's why there's rules. That's why there's rule changes and why the game has evolved. And that's why there's hybrid icing, for example. Where some people want to keep icing the way it was before, I'm sure. But you have to protect the players from themselves.
I just think that it's such a history part of the game and something that you're not going to see taken out for a while. Maybe in the future, maybe.
Well, let's
There's
do
a
it
lot
now.
of the
Let's
lower
do it now.
leagues that have gotten rid of fighting in hockey that used to have them, and I believe that that's, something that's okay. College, they wear full shields. They can't fight with full shields. But I don't think you're going to see a change in the NHL within at least the next 5 to 10 years. You might in the future. I'm not saying that, but I just don't think that it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't think there will be a change. I think there should be. Right? I think as you're going to mention in your final word, that Gary Bettman has said, fighting's going to stay. So I guess I'll pose this question to you, Jason and Matt. Do you think fighting will be removed in the near future, or will it stay for a long time?
Not unless someone gets knocked out, like coma status. And from a legit fight, not just someone attacking someone
Right,
else.
not like a Todd Bertuzzi
Yeah.
sucker punch thing.
No, nothing
Matt?
like
Yeah,
that.
I don't think it stays regardless. I think it does stay regardless. Excuse me, because like Bree just said, we've had stuff happen like that in the past. Sure, medical advancements are much better than they were back when they weren't playing with, even without helmets for that matter. But if they wouldn't get rid of it then, knowing the dangers of it, I mean, it's still common sense, regardless of what kind of medical attention you have or don't have. If they didn't do it then, why do it now? Keep it the way it is.
But to your point, Jason, someone could, and I think will at some point,
Yeah.
get to that kind of
It could
hurt. Not
happen,
just,
yeah.
fairly severe out for the season, but out for career, even worse than that. And then I think at that point is whenever the discussion will really come about taking,
I think that's
fighting out of
when
hockey.
all the
And
networks start
that's what
talking
I
about
want to
it.
prevent, because I think it's something that will happen if that happens, and there's a chance of that occurring. And so you should take it out. I'll say my final word. It's about foresight, not hindsight. That's the way I look at it.
There's a chance I'm going to get struck by lightning. Should I not go outside?
I understand that, but again, you can't eliminate going outside. In essence, you can eliminate fighting, or make the repercussions so severe that if you want to fight, that's fine, but you're going to face some severe.
Yeah.
You better really want to fight. Obviously, you can't say no fighting anymore. That's just not. You can't do that in football. Baseball, that doesn't happen. But a 1 to 2 game suspension, not this 5-minute.
Well, you know
major.
what? But if you're gonna do something very severe, you make it at least 4 or 5
Okay,
games.
that's fine.
You don't make it
That's-
1 to 2, because if you make it 1 to 2, guys will still fight regardless anyway and take the 1 game
mean,
suspension.
I was me trying to hedge it
especially
a
if they're
little
playing
bit.
especially if they're playing in a game that has any playoff implications, or even if they're in the Stanley Cup playoffs and they're up 3 games to none, they want to try and they're down.
Well, no
in that
one's
game,
going
they
to
wanna
fight
try
because
and clinch it.
you risk
There you
sitting
go.
out. You're not going to
But I'm
sit
saying,
yourself out in the Stanley Cup
say the
playoffs.
team's down 3-0 and it's
Okay.
unlikely for them to come back anyway, but they still want to try and change the momentum of a game, then maybe they will take that 1 game suspension. And
Okay, there's exceptions, not
And you would see
foolproof.
that more from guys like a Zach Ronaldo, for instance, or a Todd Bertuzzi,
Yeah.
who aren't necessarily skilled and would help their team in that way. They're guys that help their teams in changing the momentum of the game and getting into those types of fights.
So, do you guys not like the proposal then of 1 to 2 games or more? Because that's what I'm asking for. Because again, I recognize you can't.
If they're going to do it,
eliminate
at least 4 to 5 games.
I think if you get a 1 to 2 game suspension, if you get enough of them, management might start getting mad at you.
Yeah, because they're not going to have teams that are going to miss games and be forced to sit out.
I don't think the NHL Players Association would ever vote for a rule that would have players suspended for.
But
fighting in
isn't the
hockey.
NHL Players Association all about player safety?
They are to
So-
an extent, but I mean, it's still the players that are
I get that,
part
yeah.
of that. And one more point I want to make before we have to wrap up, though, is you say that there's, like, you make a point that fighting in hockey is such a big thing, but there has been less and less fights, and it's really not that big of a deal.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have. Bring you back for the final words. Maybe we can get a little more conversation about that. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much, guys. Up next will be Scott Martinez and Tyler DiGiacomo to give their thoughts on the subject up next on Off the Bench.
So, I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Longing for a unique taste and a relaxed atmosphere? Look no further than 6th and Main Marketplace in downtown Clarion. With a menu to satisfy a chic palate, 6th and Main has a taste of the Strip District without the long trip home. Accompanying the food is a complement of gourmet sodas and ice creams, a fully stocked deli, delicious breads, and delectable desserts. 6th and Main offers dine-in service with a relaxed atmosphere, which will leave a distinct impression.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you were really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
Hi, I'm Clint Hurdle, Pittsburgh Pirates manager, and you're watching Off the Bench.
And welcome back to Off the Bench. A new cast to take on, as always, Alex Kozora, Jason Click, and we have Tyler DiGiacomo, who's gotten his microphone on, off to a fantastic start. And the very heated, animated, I'm fearing for my health over here, Scott Martinez. But first, how are you guys before we yell at each other?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to get this discussion going.
Okay, so well, again, as we did last block, we know my stance, we know Jason's stance. So let's give your guys just stance on hockey. Should it stay or should it go, Tyler?
I'm the one hung panelist. I don't care either way, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It has its pros and cons, but if I had to lean one way or the other, I would lean towards keeping fighting in hockey, and it has its proponents, pros and cons. But I'm going to let Mr. Martinez speak first before I get into my pros and cons.
I am for keeping fighting in hockey. Of course, you always got the risk of injuries if you're fighting, but it's very rare. And of course, there's the pros and cons, but it's very rare that someone gets hurt in an actual drop the pucks and fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then if someone goes to the ground, they stop it. So it's not like they're getting brutally attacked on the ground. So
I understand. Okay, now I want to get to your point real quick here, Tyler, about why you don't care. Or in essence, don't care.
Because to me, hockey's not really my biggest sport there, and I don't think fighting adds anything to hockey, but I don't think it takes anything away either. You could say the points that there's no other fighting in the other sports, which is true, and there's no fighting in like any of the Pee Wee leagues coming up, high school or college, until you get to the pros. But I guess the equivalent of fighting, I know Bree was talking about that, that you have fights that kind of take away from guys with the cheap shots or penalties, which is true. And also you could equate the fighting in hockey to a baseball pitcher throwing the ball at somebody and hitting them. But also, from an entertainment standpoint, it brings fans in the game. But then, the con of it, there are injuries. There are guys that could fight with each other. But the NHL has done a great job the last couple of years on cutting down on that. The last couple of years, they have that third man in rule. That if the third man in,
Understood.
go away from there.
No, they have done
They've
some,
cut down
some
on
things. So let me ask you guys this question. It's a different one from the last block, but do you think hockey needs fighting? And Jason, I'll start with you.
Do I think it needs it? No. I think it has a dedicated enough fan base where if they take out fighting, the fans still aren't going to leave. I know I won't.
Okay.
But I do catch myself, like the last Flyers game I went to, I wanted to see a fight.
Okay,
I wanted to see
fair
someone
enough.
get
I
decked.
appreciate the honesty. Scott, does hockey need fighting?
not as bad, but of course you want to stay in there, but it doesn't actually need there. Just keep it there. But
So no, they don't need fighting?
it's not a top priority, but of course the fans want to see it.
Okay, Tyler?
Again, I don't care either way, but yes, I think hockey does need fighting because it's on a lower spectrum of four major sports and brings a different fan base to the games. That I said that want to see fights, educated, but again, I think they need it for the money and the revenue.
I think you look at it as one of two answers. If the answer is yes, they need fighting, then you have a lot bigger problems with your sport if that's what you need to
Exactly.
attract fans. And if the answer is no, that you don't need fighting, then let's go ahead and take it out of the game if we're not dependent on it.
You do see in the Olympics, there's no fights there, and still everyone is watching because it's the highest stake.
Right. So Scott, what says you? Because I know you were so adamant about it, but if we don't need it, why do we have it? Someone's going to get seriously hurt here.
Well, let's see, Alex. You represent the nation of America today.
Who
now
does?
You.
I do.
Because nowadays, everyone, oh my goodness, we can't see anyone get hurt. What happened to the old school days where let's go, let's get
That's
going?
not what we live. That's not the culture we live in. That goes to the culture that
And
fighting's
it's
always
sad.
been there.
It's sad that
It's
our
not
culture.
sad.
Yes, it is.
How
yes,
is it
it is.
sad?
It is sad.
How is it sad?
We're not a tough nation anymore. We need our toughness back.
So that's what's gonna keep our toughness in America. Is
it's in
is
all
fighting.
sports too. Look at
Have
the
a
NFL.
bunch of
Look at the
Canadians
NFL.
fight.
Same.
It's about learning and the knowledge that these are severe, because these are the head injuries things that we didn't know about that stuff. We were ignorant. We didn't have that kind of technology. Now we do. We understand the severity of head injuries, and someone's going to get seriously hurt because of it.
But guess what? These guys sign up for it.
That's not
Let
an
'em
acceptable
go.
thing, because
Let 'em go.
those
They
people don't
signed up
understand.
for
That's not an
this.
acceptable answer. Okay, because one, that was what the NFL did, and then they sued the league because of it. That's another point too. If you want to, the league wants to protect itself from the Players Association 10, 15 years down the road suing them. That's what it does too. It also protects the players and protects the league. And I want to get your guys' thoughts before me and Scott just hurt each other.
I don't know.
Isn't that true that
Yeah,
it protects
It tries
themselves?
to protect themselves, so the lawsuits will come. It's crazy. I didn't think about lawsuits or anything like that coming
Because
into
let's be
this.
honest, it's a business. The
Yeah, it
NHL,
is a
like any other
business.
sports organization, is a business, and it must protect itself.
Going to work and going to get in a fight, possibly. I mean, that's some of those guys' jobs out there to go.
But
bash
even if you're
someone's
the
head.
commissioner and you're one of the higher ups, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Protecting yourself from that, so the league can't say, why did you not try to prevent these kind of head injuries?
Now, I know that you're a football man, Alex, so you're
Yes.
concerned that football concussion things they carry over into the hockey spectrum. And you have Gary Bettman, 20 years from now, guys will be suing the league.
I mean, it's a possibility. No one thought anyone would do it in the NFL, but as we learn more and more about these concussions and how severe that they are, that could be a possibility. Will it happen for sure? I'm not positive. Who can say? No one has the crystal ball that says yes or no. But that's another aspect to look at. It's lower down on the list of reasons why I think hockey or fighting in hockey should go, but it's a reason.
Now, here's another equivalent for you. I think there's guys that fight in hockey, that's their only job. They're enforcers. So that's equivalent to a DH in baseball. So you take fighting out, you're going to have guys not be able to play the NHL because that's their role.
That's
the,
fine.
The role is
They're
to
gone.
fight. The role is to
Then they're
hit.
gone. Sorry.
That is the
if that's
role.
if that's what the only thing you contribute to a hockey team is to fight and punch guys, go join boxing or MMA.
So you're going to take out those specialty guys. You're going to take out the fight, take out the DHs.
No, I'm
take
not
out,
taking out the DHs. It's separate. That's the DH guy plays within the game.
Take out the gunners on
That
special
is
teams.
that is a
guys,
completely separate
They're taking away
argument.
the kickoff in football, aren't they?
Completely separate argument.
Safety thing.
Those again, it goes back to
Take away
what
the gunner
it goes.
on
What
football.
is in the phase of the game? Fighting is not within the phase of hockey. A gunner is within the phase of football.
How is that physically? Yeah.
Because
you run as
does
hard
the-
as you can hit somebody.
Is the action happening in
You're trying to
football? Is the action happening in football and special teams when a gunner runs down a punt?
Yeah, with the actions happening.
Does the clock run
and
in
kickoff?
fighting?
It does not. But
Is it running in kickoffs?
But has that mean? Doesn't
It's
matter.
with that's what phase of the game is. It's a thing that happens during the game. Fighting does not have the game stops. The game stops. It's completely different.
So because
in
the clock
fighting.
stops,
Because the game stops.
It's not part of the game.
It's not. That's what I mean by phase of the game. It's not within the phase of the
The
game.
clock stops for free throws in basketball, though.
That's.
Gotcha. Where's the
Is
clock?
everyone getting punched in basketball?
Oh,
I haven't
Ron
fucking
Artest when he
witnessed.
was
Yeah,
around.
sure.
I haven't witnessed that. And was it a severe suspension because of that?
It was a decent one.
It was
yeah.
a very decent one. I believe it was a full season
Yeah,
suspension.
it was.
So not a 5-minute major. They told Ron Artest go sit on the bench for 5
Well,
minutes.
you're just hitting another player. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and then fighting.
It's entertainment.
Fighting
Safety.
Fighting hockey is equivalent to a big hit in football. And you saw, and
no.
You
This-
saw,
that's equivalent to a
you
big
saw
check in
Goodell take
hockey.
it away because that fires the crowd up. That's the energy. That's the stuff.
If that's
It's
what
like
you
a
need,
steal
if
in
that's what you
baseball.
need, you
It's
have
like
bigger
stealing in
problems in your
base.
sport.
Okay,
you
well-
have bigger problems. If that's the only, because a big check can light up a crowd too, and it should, and it does.
Okay.
You don't need fighting because you have that. The physicality in hockey, taking away fighting, is already there.
Well, the sport's been around since 1900, so if it's still in there, must be some reason why I still have it.
Not
out.
necessarily.
Tell
I mean,
me why.
they had.
Tell me why it is.
Just because the way it is now, we only have 2 minutes left here.
Just tell me.
Because
I'm listening.
culture in sports, they evolve. The same way that we didn't have masks for goalies for a long time.
Okay.
Eventually, they adapted that. Same with any other rule change or safety change. If a sport has to be adaptive, and this is a little bit of an aside, but it's not really about fighting in hockey, but it just shows this was a charity hockey game between the NYPD and the fire department, and they got into this giant brawl and fans were saying some nasty things. That's not really what I'm talking about, but that just kind of shows to get the visual aspect.
But they
to it.
can't do
Let
that
me
on the
look at that.
street every
I
day.
understand.
So it gives them a chance to blow off some steam.
Jay, are
and
you
have
really
a-
Very
making this
true, very
argument?
true.
Is that no? It's
Yes.
a charity hockey
Well, they
game.
can't do it on the
This was
street.
not-
It looks bad.
It looks bad on there.
It
How
looks
is there
fine on there.
clapping?
It's hockey,
How
so
is
what?
there- I got an American flag waving.
Okay.
I have just
But no, it's
anarchy.
okay. Zora, okay. So fighting in hockey is the way of blowing off the steam. Baseball, you hit a guy. Football, you hit him hard.
You can kill a guy in that in fighting and hockey. That's not acceptable way to
Okay.
blow off steam.
Then-
Check somebody.
How
hard, you
often
wanna
has
blow off
someone got
steam.
killed in a hockey fight?
It could happen. It's
It could happen.
preventive. It's
There's a
called
very
foresight.
slim chance
It's
of it
called
happening.
Foresight or seriously
Yeah.
hurt. That guy's head hits off the ice because he falls to the ground because he gets knocked out. It just happened not too long ago. This
Do
year.
you know how often that happens, though?
One time is too many because the first time it happens, someone gets
And
seriously
you,
hurt
and
or
once again,
die,
you
they're going
represent
to
the
take it
nation of
away.
America.
You can have that.
Too
Anyway.
weak.
That's fine. I'm going to save a player's life.
I'm
You
concussions
can
in
kill him.
football in it.
That's
Oh
within
my
the face of the game,
goodness.
and they're trying to prevent that.
This is
they are
invading-
making major
this is
changes.
This is a part of the game.
They are making.
They're not
it's
fighting in the
not.
locker
I know
room,
that's
they're
the
not in
crux
the
of the issue.
stands.
I know that's the
This
crux
is a
of the
part of the
issue.
game.
Is it a phase of the game?
Yes.
I know you say
This
yes.
is the
I
clock
say no.
stop.
That's the issue.
Where's the clock in baseball?
There's no clock in baseball. But are there brawl? Are there fights?
Oh,
Does
yes,
Andrew,
there are.
Does Andrew McCutcheon go out and fight the pitcher in a one-on-one battle?
Sometimes they do.
No. And there's major brawls, and then they have
Major baseball, yes.
then they have giant repercussions because of it. That's all the time I believe we have. Yes. So we're going to go to break. We're going to come back with Bree for the final word, like usual. Calm ourselves. If you have some final remarks with Bree, Jason, and myself. Thank you, Scott, Tyler, very much for coming on the show. No one fought each other on here. I'm very happy about that. Keep it
Just
here
wait till after
on
the
off
show.
bat.
We're in the parking lot.
Yeah, parking
Go to
lot.
commercial.
Please, before Alex dies, please.
At the Meadows, sweet treats are just an order away. With a wide variety of options and a friendly, informed staff, you can get just the thing you need to satisfy that craving.
We are open year-round, and our frozen custard is made fresh daily.
In a hurry? Don't fret. The Meadows has a convenient drive-thru for your busy days. The Meadows is located at 22671 Route 68 near the Clarion Mall.
Get caught buzzed driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Have all your printing, copying, and promotional needs met at Pages, Clarion University's own printing and graphics express service. Open to faculty and students, Pages can print and design posters and vinyl banners to help promote your big event. Our state-of-the-art wide format printer allows you to get your items printed at lightning fast speed. All of your organization's promotional needs, from clothing and pens to keychains and mugs, can be easily and quickly made. With new machines, Pages is your one-stop shop for all of your quality printing and processing needs. Call us at 814-393-2679.
The sports world is ever evolving. In the beginning of all sports, players didn't even wear helmets in high-impact sports. So as time goes on, more and more technologies are developed to protect players from injuries. In hockey, every season sees an update in the rules to further protect players in areas such as illegal checks and, yes, fighting. Commissioner Gary Bettman has specifically stated that they are not going to take fighting out of hockey anytime soon, but they have made improvements to player safety. Players now cannot take their helmets off before a fight, or they will receive an additional 2 minutes to a penalty. Of course, there's ways around this, but this helps prevent hard hits to the head. According to some, though, this is not enough. All those calling to completely ban fighting have not looked at the statistics. In the 70s, bench-clearing brawls were sometimes a nightly occurrence, whereas now this is no longer the case. While the occasional fight does break out, it is currently the lowest amount in the league history. Most fights are used to police illegal acts that were missed by the refs, like I said earlier, and many players say that if fighting was to be eliminated, players' actions would get out of control. There are different views on the subject that are no doubt. However, I can tell you that fighting is going to remain part of the game for the distant future.
I just feel like if the players will get out of control, then there's a bigger problem with the players themselves, if that's what is taming them.
I think it's the emotion thing. I think if you didn't have the occasional fight, your emotions would... It's a way to get your emotions back in check. Just duke it out, go sit in the box for 5 minutes, cool down, and there you go.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with hitting another goon.
Just get to your final word.
Fighting in hockey has existed since the sport was created. It has become and always will be a large part of the game itself, with fights being able to shift momentum of games in a big way. Yes, they can be extremely violent, and sometimes they seem unnecessary, but without fighting, hockey would lack the edginess and toughness that most fans have come to know and love. So I could never truly ever see myself wanting to see fighting leave the game. However, when fights drag out and turn to brawls where the game is delayed for long amounts of time, that is where I draw the line, because it begins to take away from the game itself and becomes more of a distraction to the game instead of being a part of it.
And now for my final word. We've had a great discussion today, and thankfully no fighting broke out on the set. I know at this point I'm probably repeating myself, but to summarize my main points, fighting in hockey needs to go. The penalties for it are a joke that deters absolutely nobody. Yes, it is part of the culture, but as this sport has done in other areas, and as all sports do, it can evolve, and should evolve, because someone is going to get seriously hurt or die on the ice. Only then will the light bulb go on and the world will realize how unnecessary this act is. I am promoting having foresight and not hindsight. I don't know where to go from here. We have to start yelling. We've been instructed to do that. I don't know how much time we have
Earlier,
left.
we were supposed to have a fight, and a real fight was supposed to break out.
I'm just glad it has not.
Well, I think I would win, so I'm confidence.
I kind of really like hockey. I wish life was like hockey. If I got mad at someone and we wanted to mutually have a fight,
that's not how the way the world
and
works. Right?
then we just chill for 5 minutes, I'd be completely
Oh, but
okay
no,
with
there's a
that.
2-minute misconduct penalty if you take your helmet off, which will completely stop players from fighting.
Next
oh
time
my
we go to a
goodness, not
professor
the
assign me a
2-minute
big
conduct.
assignment, just haul off and hit them, and
See,
then
no, I'm
cool
saying
down for a little bit.
because you can't, don't do that. First of all, my first advice to you,
okay.
because you can't do that. It's the real world model. Fighting, it's not a solution.
Yeah, but a sport isn't the real world.
Yes and yes. Oh my God, I said the Macachillo yes and no thing. But again, someone's gonna get seriously hurt. That's my main point, and that's the general principle. But any quick final thoughts? So thank you guys so much for being on the show. That was a really good show.
It was.
Great show.
And
I had
thank you
word
for,
vomit in my final word. I was like, I don't know what this sentence is.
And thank you for the crew. Thank you upstairs. Thank you, Chris Gillis, for directing. Awesome job. We'll leave you with a short moment of the week, a hockey highlight that does not involve fighting. Check it out.
Yay.
Ward redirected with his foot back to Carlson. One-timer, basket score! There's number 50 for